This literature review was written to assess past studies that have been conducted regarding the use of technology to improve reading fluency. Due to limited literature on this topic, all technologies were considered in this literature review. Reading fluency consists of accuracy, automaticity, and prosody. Accuracy is measured as the percentage of how many words students need to read in a given passage, divided by the number of words they read correctly in that passage. Automaticity is measured by how many words students read correctly in 1 minute. Prosody is an analysis of students' speech patterns during an oral reading of their phrasing, intonation, rhythm, and tone. Fluent reading is directly linked to comprehension. Proven strategies for developing fluent reading is modeling fluent reading, repeated readings, and assisted reading. In this literature review, 4 major technologies were discovered that are being used to help students build reading fluency. There are computer programs, computer-based reading tutoring, multimedia used to support instruction, and voice recording options. Read Naturally is one of the computer programs found in this literature review. According to the U.S. Department of Education What Works Clearinghouse, it is a supplementary reading program that aims to improve reading fluency, accuracy, and comprehension of elementary and middle school students using texts, audio CDs, and computer software. They further explain that it includes modeling of story reading, repeated reading of text for developing oral fluency, and systematic monitoring of student progress. Through Read Naturally, a fluency goal is set. A student reaches the goal when they make less than 3 errors when reading aloud, if they read with appropriate phrasing, and if they answer comprehension questions orally. Then students move to the next level. The U.S. Department of Education What Works Clearinghouse analyzed numerous studies conducted using the program and found 4 that met their criteria of randomized controlled trials. The results of their analysis indicate that overall, Read Naturally has inconsistent effects on reading fluency, but has positive effects on general reading achievement. The Read Naturally Software Edition has a straightforward goal of increasing reading fluency using grade-level passages by following a specific sequence of activities. There is an introduction to 3 to 5 key words, a 1-minute cold read, a read-along, practice reading, a comprehension test, and a reading checkout. In a study conducted with 8 urban African-American first-grade students using this program for 14 to 16 weeks as supplementary instruction, students' fluency was assessed through the program. Students clicked on unknown words to indicate a miscue or an error in their reading. While this required students to self-monitor their reading, it is not clear how accurate this program is in truly assessing students' fluency, as students may not know if they read a word incorrectly to mark that in the program. Despite uncertainty as to the validity of the fluency assessment within the program, students were tested outside of the program, and it was determined that the 8 students had an average increase of 19 words correct per minute and an average increase of 45.7% in their reading comprehension. While this program is not available at the school where this capstone project is being conducted, it would be worthwhile to adapt the instructional sequence for this capstone project due to the results seen in students' fluency. Reading Plus is another computer-based intervention program to develop students' reading fluency. Reading Plus has a pre-assessment followed by 30-minute lessons. Warm-ups are provided to increase students' visual perception, attentional skills, and print automaticity. The reading is followed by comprehension questions and activities. According to Pekulski and Chard, as quoted in Rosinski, Samuels, Hybert, Petcher, and Feller, the visual perception activities will result in increased automaticity so that students' attention can focus on making meaning of the text instead of trying to decode words. For this study, students who engaged with the Reading Plus program made greater gains in comprehension and reading achievement than students who did not participate in this study. However, English language learners did not make the same gains as native English-speaking students. Rosinski, Samuels, Hybert, Petcher, and Feller posit that this may be because the English language learners are still learning English language basics and would struggle with comprehension as they are continuing to work on letter-sound relationships. For the students in this capstone project, a computer program is not a viable option as these programs do not exist at the school and because it is found to be ineffective for English language learners. Another technology present in the review of literature on the topic of reading fluency is using computers for reading tutoring and the general use of multimedia in the classroom to support instruction. Chambers, Slavin, Madden, Abrami, Tucker, Chung, and Gifford conducted a study to see how embedded multimedia and computer-assisted tutoring would improve students' reading fluency. The multimedia was embedded in regular reading instruction as short videos to explicitly teach phonics and vocabulary. Some resources for these videos were Animated Alphabet, The Sound and the Furry, Word Plays, and Between the Lions. The computer-assisted tutoring was based on a Success for All school using a computer-based tutoring program called Alfie's Alley. The program aids tutors in planning, instruction, and assessment. The instruction is based on letter identification and letter sounds, blending and segmenting, sight words, and fluency practice. In this year-long study with 159 first-grade students, some students received embedded multimedia instruction, while some did not as the control for the study. Additionally, some students received the computer-assisted tutoring, while some students did not as another control for the study. Students who received both the multimedia embedded instruction and computer-assisted tutoring made more gains in overall reading achievement than the students who were tutored without the technology and who did not receive the multimedia embedded instruction. Additionally, non-tutored students who received the multimedia embedded instruction made greater gains in overall reading achievement than the non-tutored students who did not receive the multimedia embedded instruction. According to the authors of this study, it is clear that the multimedia embedded instruction helped make concepts clear and memorable to the students involved in the study. Vasquez and Slocum also conducted a study on the use of computers for tutoring, taking advantage of web cameras by using them for synchronous online tutoring. They used Adobe Connect to provide supplemental tutoring using a direct instruction program of corrective reading and decoding. Tutoring consisted of teaching word attack skills, shared reading, individual reading assessments, and activities. Repeated reading practice was also a strategy used during the tutoring. The study was conducted with 4 at-risk fourth grade students, with 50-minute sessions conducted 4 times a week for a range of 8 to 18 weeks per student. All 4 students increased their fluency by an average of 40.5 words correct per minute, which was a higher rate of progress than students would typically make without using this tutoring program. Mostow, Nelson Taylor, and Beck also conducted a study based on a computer-based tutoring program called Project Listen's Reading Tutor. The program had speech recognition to listen to students as they read aloud and provide feedback. However, it was only 95% accurate in hearing correctly read words and was poor at finding miscues. Students were able to click on unknown words to have them read aloud to them. The program also provided feedback on how to break down words by analogies or chunks. In this 7-month study of 178 students in grades 1 through 4, the use of the program was compared with students who otherwise engaged in sustained silent reading. The process used was for students to preview text, have a vocabulary introduction, and listen to the student read aloud. Rereading was not an element of this tutoring program. Despite this, students using this tutoring program made more gains than the control students in blending words, word identification, fluency, spelling ability, and comprehension. Additional multimedia use in the classroom is the use of digital texts. These texts allow students to hear models of fluent reading. When used in tandem with explicit instruction on prosody and fluency, students can analyze aspects of the fluency of the narrator of the digital text. The ability to pause and replay the digital text supports student learning of aspects of fluency. This is a list of websites that have free digital text for students to use to aid in reading fluency, supplied by Thurmer and Williams. You may pause the screen now for a moment to review this list. Lastly, several studies had students use technology for voice recording to improve student reading fluency. Basinda and McLeod combined Reader's Theater, a proven strategy for improving reading fluency based on repeated readings, with podcasting. Students in the study had a new script each week, which they recorded at the end of the week and uploaded to the class website as a podcast for others to enjoy. This study was conducted with 3rd grade students for 10 weeks using Audacity software for the voice recordings. Of the 100 students in the study, 35 of the students were struggling readers. The struggling readers in the study made an average grade level equivalent gain of 1.13 years of progress in just the 10 weeks of the program. The grade level students in the study made an overall average gain of 1 semester up to 3 years growth. Additional benefits the authors noted were student engagement due to the wider audience for their Readers Theater performance and the permanency of their work as it was posted online. This capstone project will use voice recordings as an incentive for students as well, as the student engagement and incentive was a leading factor in the success of this study. Martinez and Barnhill strictly used MP3 players to improve students' fluency rates. In this 2-year study of 138 first-grade students, students brought home an MP3 player with a recording of a story. Students received a new story each week. Students listened to the story while following along with the text for 3 repeated readings of the text. Students who used MP3 players had higher fluency rates at the end of the study than students who did not use them as the control group. The authors noted that the use of the MP3 player was beneficial for those students who did not have models of fluent reading available to them at home. Further, the use of this technology tool increased students' responsibility, confidence, and time spent reading. Tian, Chen, and Lee used paper-based digital pens in a study to improve students' reading fluency. The pen had a read-to-me option as well as a record and playback option so that students could hear models of fluent reading of a text as well as hear and assess their own fluency. The study was conducted with 31 third-grade students in Taiwan who are native speakers of Chinese in an English classroom. This study, therefore, is relevant to determine its significance for English language learners in the classroom of this capstone project. Students first listened to a model of fluent reading while reading along, engaged in several repeated readings of the text, recorded their own independent reading of the text, and repeated this process as necessary. Overall, students felt an increased confidence in their reading fluency. However, struggling readers became more frustrated by hearing their own disfluent reading, while proficient readers were motivated by hearing their more fluent reading. This is something to consider for students' voice recordings in this capstone project. In conclusion, computer programs, computer-based tutoring, multimedia, and voice recording, when combined with proven strategies to improve reading fluency such as models of fluent reading, repeated readings, and assisted reading, these studies have shown that students will have increased accuracy, increased automaticity, and increased reading comprehension. From these studies, this capstone project instructional plan will use the computer for models of fluent reading, repeated readings, and multimedia embedded instruction. This capstone project will use digital text to allow students to hear models of fluent reading, with teacher-provided explicit instruction to teach about prosody and fluency. Students will analyze fluency of models of fluent reading in the digital text to learn from them. The instructional sequence for this capstone project will adapt and integrate elements from the Read Naturally Software Edition instructional sequence, including keyword introduction, cold reads, read-along, and practice reading. The project will also adapt and integrate the instructional sequence used in the study conducted using digital pens, including listening to models of fluent reading while reading along, engaging in several repeated readings, and recording independent reading. For this capstone project, students will use digital recorders for oral reading as an incentive to have a wider audience for their reading, to increase their confidence and time spent reading, and for assessment purposes as the teacher will conduct running records from the digital recorders. Further, this strategy was proven to be more effective for English language learners than the computer programs discussed earlier in building fluent reading. You may pause the screen now to review page 1 of the references and then proceed to page 2. Alternatively, you may open the PowerPoint attached to the Phase 1 page of this wiki to review the list this way. The references are also embedded in the reference list found at the bottom of this page of the wiki.